deliberating over nuclear power, we must first identify the context. The UK government identifies the context in reference to addressing their two long-term energy targets: tackling climate change and ensuring a safe, secure energy supply. On the 10th of January 2008, the Right Honourable John Hutton MP announced in the House of Commons that nuclear power is a safe and secure technology that makes commercial sense. The question, however, remains, not is nuclear power the answer, but should nuclear power be the answer?
But what about renewable energy sources? Won't increasing the UK's small-scale capacity remove the need for a new-build nuclear programme? Or are the issues hindering this?
There are going to be some sort of technical issues that need to be overcome before large amounts of smaller scale energy sources can be linked into the national grid. Whether that comes through systems of microgrids or different ways of linking them up to the main grid remains to be seen. But there's still that issue, that technical issue to overcome. There's also, for wind energy so far, there's been lots of opposition publicly to the sites that have been selected, be they due to a visual impact on the landscape, noise, problems on local bird life for some of the offshore sites. There's no real win-win technology that can solve all our problems. Each of these renewable technologies, as well as nuclear and as well as coal, have some sort of environmental offset. There is no such thing as a zero environmental impact energy source. If we want to continue our energy-rich, high energy consumption lifestyles, we've got to accept that there's going to be some environmental trade-off.
Dr. Ruth Wood mentioned the view of the public. But what view do the public share when considering nuclear power?
Yeah, it's difficult for me to say one way or the other, but it is something that I've got concerns about, especially the waste aspect of it.
Probably just waste, really.
I think nuclear power destroys our natural beauty.
Just the storage of the waste. Like when you actually produce the power, there's a large amount of radioactive waste that's produced and it needs to be stored.
I think it's the fact that it's something that's going to be around, not just for us, but for our children and our children's children for a long, long time.
After conducting a public survey, 62% of the respondents suggested production of waste was the most significant issue concerning nuclear power. But as nuclear waste is a homogeneous term, what is it really describing?
In the UK, we divide radioactive waste into three categories: high-level waste, intermediate-level waste, low-level waste. The category is determined by the level of activity associated with waste. High-level waste is a byproduct of the reprocessing of nuclear fuel. Typically, it's in the form of highly active liquor. The activity results from the high levels of fission products within the liquors. We treat this through a process called vitrification, whereby it's mixed with a glass material. This creates a solid glass structure. These are contained within cylinders which are stored in a passively killed underground storage vault. Intermediate level waste predominantly comprises pieces of plant equipment with high levels of contamination on them, along with byproducts of nuclear processes such as radioactive sludges and liquors. Radioactive sludges and liquors are mixed with a grout formulation to make them into a solid, and ILW's material is stored within concrete containers within heavily shielded facilities. As yet, there's no long-term disposal strategy for high-level waste and intermediate-level waste. However, many see deep geological disposal as the ultimate solution.
The approach of deep geological disposal is a technique that is supported by the UK government. I spoke to the former Deputy Chief Executive of BNFL, Greg Butler, and Friends of the Earth nuclear campaigner Neil Crumpton to investigate what this solution involves.
Well, the policy is they put the Committee on Radioactive Waste Management Quorum, spent 3 and a bit years, and came up with deep geological disposal, and we're talking sort of 5 to 800 metres down, as the best method. They very much concentrated the whole of their efforts on the legacy waste, the stuff we've already got. And the government basically took their, if you like, the scientific part of their conclusion and said, yeah, that's great, we'll do that for everything then. And quite a few members of the committee are quite annoyed because what they looked at was very specifically the legacy waste, not looking at any more. How proven is the technology in the UK? Well, it isn't, basically. I mean, there's no reason to suppose the UK is unique in its geology compared to anywhere else in the world. But on the other hand, I mean, it has got some features. If you plotted out the ideal things you'd want for a waste disposal site, they would probably include very little rainfall, very stable geology that hasn't moved for millions of years, no mountains close by, not many people, not much socio-economic consequences for the surroundings. We don't do that in Britain. There are areas of the world where we do, of course, where there are, but in Britain it's going to be interesting.
There is no definitive way of storing nuclear waste that is proven. Many countries around the world who have got nuclear power programs are now grappling with the issue of waste. I think Sweden is probably the most advanced in its thinking, and it's proposing, although it hasn't yet decided, to store the high-level waste, the most dangerous waste, in underground repository. That's not to say that the is already sorted. High-level waste emits heat and can emit gases as well, so it's not easily containable. Although they will put it in canisters of copper, about 3 centimetres thick copper, in the hope that it will last the 100,000 years that it needs to last in a repository.
It's becoming clear that not only is continuing to produce nuclear waste of ethical concern, it's of scientific concern. We have heard how the government underpins the continuation of nuclear power upon an unproven technology, but what remains is to hear how the government is selecting disposal sites based upon voluntary and partnership basis with local communities.
In terms of community involvement in sites for a long-term repository, particularly for high-level waste, there are already issues as to who decides within the community. Should it be a referendum of all the electorate, or a decision by councillors? And this is already an argument that's breaking out. There's also the issue that regardless of the community, it's the geology of the area beneath that community that is of prime importance.
I think it's a really interesting sociological experiment, but I think it's something which we in the UK have no experience on at all, and I think it will be very, very surprising if this works straight out of the box, because nobody knows, neither side of the fence has any experience in doing this. Neither side of the fence knows what volunteering means in a community sense.
Furthermore, there are issues of if there is increasing waste from a new build programme, then the repository size might increase from around 4 square kilometres needed for legacy wastes up to about 14 because of the extra high level waste that a new nuclear power programme would generate. Indeed, Secretary of State Hutton said that they might try to have additional nuclear power, so that might create the need for not just one repository but maybe 2 or maybe more, depending on the geology. So there are a lot of issues there, a lot of cost involved associated with the community benefit, shall we say, and there are also then the issues of workforces moving in, all the construction process and the security for something like 50 to 100 years. Do communities really understand what they're letting themselves in for if they vote for a repository on the belief that they will get financial benefits?
So the position for a pro and anti-nuclear representative seems to find common ground in regards to their concern for the government strategy. Inappropriate interpretation of the Cohen report and a plan to support a new build nuclear programme may lead to an increase in the amount of higher level waste and vulnerable interim storage. Although science suggests that appropriate sites for geological disposal do exist within the world, it is important for the public to remember that these sites do not exist within the UK. The government will be looking at you as a community to accept an unproven technology that will remain potentially hazardous not just for our generation, but for thousands of generations after us.